Hey, I'm finally live. Right, I'm going to play the theme again, just to signify the point where the show actually starts. That makes it nice and neat. I just had a load of technical difficulties if you're tuning in on YouTube. So, yeah, just enjoy the picture of me. Actually, yeah, let's go back to the picture of saying waiting. Oh, look at that. Big version of me. Lovely. Right, let's play the theme again. I'll see you in a second, everybody. Right, after all that, I forgot to switch the audio on for the theme for YouTube, so that's lovely. Absolutely amazing start. If it is in podcast form, I forgot to turn the theme music on, so isn't that lovely? Yeah, absolutely lovely. Right, so I've just wasted a load of time. So if you're still listening, like, credit to you after all of that nonsense. Oh, Jesus Christ. Technical difficulties. The movie has become my life since trying to get everything to work. If you tuned into last week's show, I wasn't it was full 35 minutes of just trying to get any audio to come through. This week, I couldn't get the live button to appear. So this week it's all done. Everything's working now. It's only taken me 5 minutes. That's nothing compared to last week. Therefore, things are getting better. Anyway. I might put a timer on the YouTube thing and in the podcast description just to say the show actually starts 5 minutes in, because I'm an idiot. Maybe I'll find out tomorrow once I see what I did. Anyway, today we are doing AEW Full Gear predictions. Will Jon Moxley destroy Kenny Omega in their unsanctioned lights out match? That's the match I'm going to be talking about first. We'll just quickly mention AEW Dynamite from this past week, which, particularly the ending, which led into this pay-per-view with such an incredible amount of high energy. It was bloody fantastic. I loved every single thing about that. Where you had about a million different things all going on at once. We'll say, for my proper views on AEW Dynamite, I will be putting out my weekly 4,000 word mega column on the past week of WWE, NXT, and AEW. That will be going up on Saturday as normal. Hopefully, fingers crossed. There's a lot going on Saturday because it's Full Gear as well. So that'll be going. If you want my full thoughts on AEW Dynamite, they will be there in written form. But long story short, bloody loved that ending. Absolutely full of adrenaline and got really hyping up towards Full Gear this Saturday. And for me, the best thing was there were 4 matches taking place at Full Gear that were all intertwined I've forgotten the word I was going to say. In that kind of inter-brawl that happened, the interfeuding inter-brawl, it was going just so many feuds in that with the Elite versus Inner Circle, and with Moxley thrown in there as well. I thought it was fantastic. Cody Rhodes promo as well. That's a type of thing which is really going to build up the legacy of AEW. So such an amazing promo. And Chris Jericho with his piss take of the Cody pre-recorded video of all the different people talking about Cody and about what happens to his mental state when he enters a big title match like this, and it's got the sad piano music playing, and then Jericho does the same thing, but it's all about champagne and the bubbly because he's Le Champion. So it's fantastic. I loved it. But yeah, so it built really well. If you want my full thoughts on it, then go to lawsofpain.net and you'll see my column posted on Saturday. Also, every Saturday, if we want another... We've had 2 columns every single Saturday. One posted in a more timely fashion because he's in America. In the long staying, that's kind of underselling him a bit. The extremely popular veteran of Laws of Pain, Mr. Tito, has been getting up a column. The new wrestling world has sucked him back in, so he has been putting a column out in a more timely fashion after SmackDown. So if you want to get a column a lot earlier, Tito's been able to do that because he's American. I'm asleep when SmackDown airs. I can't write the column. I can't finish the column until I've watched SmackDown. So it's not getting posted until Saturday afternoon. And of course, for me, just also in terms of that, it's going to be a little bit later possibly on Saturday, purely because it is... I live in Nottingham, UK. tomorrow is our massive football or soccer derby that's taking place of Nottingham Forest versus Derby County. It's on television as well. Millions of people will be watching it. It's packed like 20,000. No, a packed. I'm trying to think how much they sell for the tickets, but it might be 24,000 people will be watching that game live. I've been to it multiple times in the past. It's awesome to be in that kind of atmosphere. But that is taking place on Saturday. I'm going to be watching that match. So the column's going to go up a little bit later. Not that you care about football. The thing that you probably care a little bit more about is on Saturday live after AEW Full Gear. Myself and Jan Man and I think Jeff from Kingdom of Honor and also from After Dynamite After Dark. I said after beforehand, it made me stutter. That's the end of that. We'll be going live immediately after AEW Full Gear for a trio of madness. When I say trio of madness, it's a very, very tired imp at 5 a.m. and Jan and Jeff doing their best at like midnight. It's very, very interesting. But yes, we'll be live here, trying to go out on here. As I just said, for me, it will be about 5 a.m. So my mental state may not be at its best. I've struggled to get this working like now when I'm not tired. So it is currently midnight for me. But for me, I'm used to this. I do this most weeks, so I'm not tired at this point. 5 a.m. though, yeah, I'm gone. So we'll see. I'll try and get it done on YouTube, but we'll definitely be going out on podcast form because that's piss easy. That's nice and simple. Away goes the monetization. I forgot. My Britishness is not allowed to seep through on YouTube, which is going to take a little bit of getting used to. Because if you've never listened to my show before YouTube, yeah, I often say the swear word. It's part of our British vocabulary. You've watched Game of Thrones. It just comes natural to us. Anyway, that's a huge tangent. I've plugged everything. I've plugged Full Gear. I've plugged my column. So I've plugged Dynamite After Dark. That's all linked to AEW. Could finally bang on with the bleeding column. The column, the bloody show. So much going on. I've not even had time to watch NXT. That's my job tomorrow. Aside from my, actual job that brings in money. For this, I've also somehow got to watch NXT to get that in the column. So, forgot how that works. I've gone off on a major tangent. Just figure. Oh, it doesn't matter. The unsanctioned lights out match. So I've not put this one first because it's definitely going to be the main event. It makes sense that it will be the main event given that it's an unsanctioned match. And that the AEW Championship can be the official end of the show. But in terms of the, actual end of the show, it's going to be the unsanctioned lights out match. Well, I'm not saying it because I know there have been reports, but I'm not going to 100% say it. It's just because I put it in the title. So it's like, will he destroy Omega? Might as well start with that one. So, with a one win. Whenever I read out records tonight, because I've got records for every single competitor, because I'm nice and organised like that, it'll be in relation to the match type that they're in. So tag records for tag matches, singles records for singles matches. Pretty self-explanatory. Probably didn't need explaining. Also I've put the records for Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega. It's unsanctioned. The important part with this is that unsanctioned matches do not count towards the record. And Jon Moxley did an amazing promo on that, where he's ready to beat Kenny Omega, then the match becomes this. And Jon Moxley cuts a scathing promo on AEW that they don't want it going on the record that Jon Moxley beats Kenny Omega. But it's quite a clever way, because if Jon Moxley does beat Kenny Omega, and that is what I'm expecting, it continues Kenny Omega's arc of just that pressure of in his head he's holding AEW on his shoulders. He is the super popular wrestler that a lot of this has happened because of, and he's feeling that pressure. He's not performing. It's getting to his head. But he can also lose in an unsanctioned match, and it doesn't affect his record. Unfortunately, and of course, when you're looking at it, because Jon Moxley on television could probably use the momentum from winning this one to ramp himself up to then get a title match. Because he's come across as such a massive star, Jon Moxley. He's such an amazing... when he walks into an arena, it's one of those people where the atmosphere completely changes. He just brings an incredible amount of energy and just adrenaline-fueled segments whenever he's on. And I love the way that they always, whenever he walks into an arena, they have the camera behind him, kind of walking with him. It's like, I love that. It's just a lot of thought goes into the production of it, and it's great to see. But yeah, so Jon Moxley with a 1 win and 1 draw record. Kenny Omega with 2 wins, 2 losses. Both of them have won an unsanctioned match as well. Both beating Jojen. And now they face each other. So yeah, they put up to it. I loved how going into what's it called, All Out, they had Jon. They were talking about, because of course Jon Moxley got his injury, and Kenny Omega cut a fantastic, like obviously almost in the moment promo on Jon Moxley, just saying that you wanted to go and live in Kenny Omega's world, go and see what it was like to be Kenny Omega. Talking about Jon Moxley going to Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and competing in the G1 Climax, and putting on a really good show as well. So he got to live the life of Kenny Omega, but in the process, maybe it was just too much, and his body broke down, his body gave in. Jon Moxley had to have surgery on his elbow, and wasn't able to do the match with Kenny Omega. Bright side is, we get this match here, and it's built up to this. So, I think I prefer it the way it is. And of course, on television, then we got Kenny Omega going into Jon Moxley's world, having an unsanctioned match against Jojen, wrestling Jon Moxley style of match in Jon Moxley's world. So, it's fantastic. And since then, every single week, Jon Moxley or Kenny Omega has come out with weapons, but something has happened every single time to stop those weapons being used. Now, finally, at Full Gear, there is nothing to stop them. I have no idea how crazy they're going to go, especially that this is like the main event of the first pay-per-view. What are they going to do? It's like Jon Moxley's very first match, he got the thumbtacks, he got, well, I think the first spot that came to mind was Jojen with the thumbtacks into the feet. It's just like, oh no, no. But there were the like awesome spots that you kind of expect in this sort of match, like again the Janela jump from the ladder in the ring to a load of tables outside, which a visual always looks amazing. Kenny Omega also had an absolutely brutal match with Joe Janela, which was like again fantastic. To be fair, Kenny Omega versus Janela in a normal match was also pretty brutal. Never mind when it was unsanctioned. The question I've kind of got is, how violent is this going to get? Oh, by the way, I've kind of already answered in terms of predictions. I'm going with Jon Moxley. That is my just immediate thought of it being unsanctioned, it being in Jon Moxley's house, and him kind of complaining they're cornering him. He can beat Kenny Omega. I've got nothing kind of... There's no cons to him winning for me. Sorry, yeah. I can't think of anything bad about him winning. Because Kenny Omega, long term, is going to get to that main event scene. There's no need to rush him. You can build people around him. You can use his mental struggle to give other wrestlers a win over him. And this is a perfect example of that. And of course, another perfect example of they can do that without it affecting his record. It's just like, obviously, momentum-wise, it doesn't particularly help. But in terms of actually affecting his record, which long-term is going to be a thing. Again, we don't know how records are definitely going to work long-term, but this match not being on there and it giving Jon Moxley a win, yeah, it's win-win for me. There's no issues with it at all. So Jon Moxley winning, 100% for me. He's not even in doubt in my head that's what's going to happen, which makes me think, because it's AEW, that they might find a way for Kenny Omega for this to be the match when Kenny Omega snaps back. I don't see that. There is going to be that match, or at least that month where it happens. I just don't think it's this one. It is going to happen, just not now. I don't know how violent it's going to get, because they, of course, they've teased violence, but they don't want to go too crazy. I don't know if Fyter Fest was a testing of the waters for how far to go, or if that was a slightly over-the-top return for Jon Moxley just doing random stuff he wanted to do. I have no idea how far this match will go. Because of course, it's weird, because you don't want... Because on a stage like this, there hasn't been a kind of really violent match for quite some time, and I'm not sure how the audience would take it. Like, the ECW kind of bred audience from like 15 years ago would eat this kind of match up and would love it. The more blood, the better. That's not the kind of audience we are anymore. And yes, the audiences can change and we can become used to that style again, but currently we're not. And I kind of feel like it might be better to kind of drip feed that style, like slowly work it back in if you're going to do it, rather than bang, here's full on hardcore wrestling. Aren't we crazy? It's like, yeah. You can push. You got Joe Janela and Jimmy Havoc. You've got the people to push it in nice and slowly. And of course, you got Jon Moxley, who's the purveyor of violence, they call himself. So yeah, but yeah, I see this match, as, again, even though Kenny Omega's kind of dabbled in the world of Jon Moxley, this is still Jon Moxley's world. It's the perfect place to have him win and for Kenny Omega's struggle to reach a new peak. So, yeah. Not really much more to say about this one. I've really, really enjoyed it. Really, for every single match, apart from a couple, the builds have been, like, perfect for me. Absolutely fantastic. Or if not absolutely fantastic in terms of, I guess, booking, if you write it down week to week, you go, oh, that's brilliant, that is. At least they've been entertaining to watch. And the way that Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega's rivalry has ramped up every single week, and now at a point where, again, they got the barbed wire baseball bats, they just haven't used them, and they've teased them for multiple weeks and never got round to using them because either a brawl broke out or Pac attacked them from behind, or this finally they're gonna get those weapons out and use them. To what end, though? I don't know. I'm really excited to see what happens with that one. So, yeah, it's another... I don't know how far they'll push the boundaries, but in terms of actual anticipation, they've built it up really well. And, of course, it's a dream match. It's the Shield versus Bullet Club, the Cleaner versus... was it Lunatic Fringe? I don't know why I forgot that. They said it for so many years. Just... Yeah, the two guys we never... Like, 3 years ago, it's the idea of this match would have been mental. But now we're getting a dream match. And I kind of need to not forget that. I'm looking at the story, which I think has been done really, really well. I'm looking at how well it's built. They've built the anticipation for it. I'm really looking forward to it. You got the arcs of both men. You got how they are going into the matches as well. I'm analysing all that. But at the end of the day, it's a dream match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. And as a fan, I'm automatically excited. Like, no matter how they do it, in a way, is like this would be one of those where even if it's in WWE and maybe the story wasn't that great, this is one of those matches you would 100% still be looking forward to, purely because it's Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega, like with Ricochet, AJ Styles. Like, I don't really care about the build. It helps if the build's really, really good, like it has been. But at the end of the day, they're going to have an amazing match. So I'm not really that fussed. It wouldn't have broken me if the build wasn't as hot as it was. Just because it's a dream match, you can get excited for that. Like John Cena, Roman Reigns, there was a little bit of disappointment in the way that they did that build, where it was kind of split 50-50 or people liked it or not. I personally thought it was fine. But you go on Twitter, you saw quite a few people split on what they thought of the way they did that build. However, come the match, it's John Cena, Roman Reigns. It's a massive match. So it kind of like it didn't really hurt it that bad that the build wasn't 100% amazing. This one, I've loved the build, and it's still got that dream match feel. I'm really, really excited. If you couldn't tell why I'm saying it like 3 times. Right, let's move on to the next match, which had arguably the best build this week. The AEW World Championship match. Chris Jericho's second defense. Cody Rhodes comes in as challenger with a 3 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw record. Chris Jericho comes in with a 3 wins and 0 losses, and of course they're only singles records. Both guys have got more in tag teams. I think Jericho's on like 4 or 5 if you include the tag team matches as well. He's undefeated, which is they built him up really, really well. They built up the Inner Circle fantastically. You've already talked about how amazing that Cody Rhodes promo was. Like, really, just you have to go see it. The emotion that he put into it, I thought was absolutely fantastic. The way that the crowd were reacting at all the perfect points kind of tells you that Cody Rhodes was hitting all the right notes. It's just such a fantastic promo, and it wasn't that long really, like 3-4 minutes, and he bashed through everything, and he hit all the right notes, and whenever he took a slight kind of detour, he always immediately brought it back to Chris Jericho. And and especially with the main message of like, you had pretty much the exact same upbringing, the exact same silver spoon upbringing that I did, you dick. It's like, that was absolutely great. As I then realised I've said the naughty word again. So goodbye monetization. I'll stop eventually. Eventually I'll learn. Fantastic build so far. But it did lead to the next stipulations. So it was announced, I want to say last week, that 3 judges will be available as a tiebreaker if the match goes beyond the 60-minute time limit. So it's a main event World Championship match. So they get in 60 minutes. And I don't know if all the championship matches kind of get 60 by default, but if they're going like New Japan, Then the main event gets 60, everything else gets 30. And sometimes change it to like for maybe like last 2 or 3 get 60, just to make them feel like a massive like 3 main events kind of style. But yeah, more or less, main event 60, the rest will get 30, earlier cards 15. As in, Jojen and Shawn Spears, that's not getting 30. I mean, it doesn't feel like it should get 30, so that's why I'm assuming it won't. But that's a kind of example. Earlier card gets a lot less time, and then later on you build up. But the 3 judges, I think, were going to be quite well-known wrestlers as well, so you get a pop for announcing them. You saw a few responses immediately, because I like to kind of see what the response is to a new announcement like this, because it's something that we haven't seen for quite a while. Like, this is an old, I want to say NWA unless it's WCW idea, or WCCW if it's that old. But there's the idea of the 3 judges in case it goes to the 60. And you saw the response of, oh, well, now it's obviously going to 60 from a few people. Then you saw others kind of more in the camp that I'm in, where it's like, well, all because they've announced it doesn't mean they're going to use it. You get the question of, well, why would they announce it if they're not going to use it? So this is where we're living in a wrestling world where WWE have had a monopoly and essentially been able to define what storytelling is. They've defined what wrestling is. Now, AEW coming in, they're a different kind of storyteller. And when you've only had one kind of storyteller, you forget what storytelling can be, like how different it can actually be from how they tell them. So this is one of those examples. Not just the judges thing, but the way I'm expecting them to be used. They've announced this. It's going to happen on it's going to happen on the pay-per-view, and we're going to get the 3 judges there. But I don't expect them to be used immediately. Now, in the world of WWE, we've become used to, if something like this is announced, why would you show the Chekhov's gun if you're not going to fire it? And if you're not going to immediately fire it in the case of WWE. And that's not the feeling I'm getting here. Obviously, I will be proven 100% wrong if that's what happens. It goes 60, we get the tiebreaker. Like, that immediately changes like my entire little thing I'm doing here. But what I'm expecting is to kind of fit the kind of vibe I'm getting from AEW. Things get set up, but the gun will be set up. You'll see the Chekhov's gun, but it won't be immediately fired. You'll know it's there. You will let it build, and then maybe 5-6 matches down the line, that's when you'll get the judges vote. No, it's not like a Pop Idol or whatever. American Idol, that's what it's called in America. It was Pop Idol over here in the early noughties. I don't know where I'm going with this. My brain's like, go on, Matt, say one of the singers. Like, no. Why would it? No. I'm already. I need to bring it back. But yeah, so the judges will be there. I'm not expecting them to be used. However, the other massive thing that is there, if Cody loses, he will never challenge for the title again, which was the main point of his promo. That was the thing. That was the driving force behind all of the emotion. Was he was saying that, and the reasoning being. And I liked the way they used the reasoning, because they used real life criticism to give substance to what he was saying. So Cody Rhodes dropped names like I want to say it was Bill Watts. I don't know if that's right or not, and his dad Dusty as well. He dropped one more, but my brain's turning off at midnight. So he dropped those names who are legendary wrestlers. But the point he was making is they weren't just wrestlers; they were also management, and that's what he is. And he's heard what people are saying. He's heard the criticism, like the only reason he's getting this championship match is because he's management. It's because the elite are in charge. That's the only reason he's getting it. So he's said, with him in that position, he has said that if he loses, he won't challenge for the championship again. He's saying that as a wrestler who is also management. Like, he will not. If he loses, he will step aside. He will not go for the championship again and again. This is it. If he loses, he's not going to challenge again. That does, because it's management, it does still leave the door open for things. Like, obviously, if it's within 3 months and he's challenging again, that's a bit But, like, if it's years down the line, yeah, there isn't really much of an issue with that. Suddenly need to take a drink of water. This is why it's good to have a guest on. So I can just actually stop and have a drink. As I also get an eyelash in my eye. Brilliant timing. This show's gone amazingly. Weirdly, better than the technical difficulties of last week, but my body's still letting me down. But yeah, so because he is man. I know I was talking about. I was midway through a point, but I'm just gonna have to drop it because again, the eyelash. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So just so you know, my eye is now watering. So if this was one of the shows in the future where I had a camera, you would see my right eye watering, so I can't read my notes. That's great. So yes, he will never challenge for the championship again, and it's because specifically he is management and he has seen the criticism. So that is why. Like even on posts on Twitter, because again, I like to go through and see the wide range of opinions. So I don't know what I know. A lot of people try to curate their feed so they stop seeing negative posts. I kind of agree with that, but also I do like to see like a wide breadth of opinions. So I purposely follow. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm not following certain people because they're on my timeline all the time. There's a few. It's more than one. There's definitely a few pro NXT accounts. It's like 3 or 4 that I've become used to seeing on my timeline, and I've not followed them, but they're on my timeline like all the time. So it's kind of like, yeah, I see the opinions, and yeah, I like seeing the wide range of opinions, even if I don't agree with them. Because that for me, it's like a check of, do I believe what I think I believe when I see those kind of posts and I see their like explanations as to why they think things. But with Cody and the like wide range of this, there's some on board with it, really enjoying it. You saw some takes on it where they clearly hadn't seen the entire thing, so you kind of have to scrap those takes, like personally. Then you got those who did see it and completely fell on the different side of the fence for me. So, of course, Cody's reasoning is that because he is management, he's not going to keep going for the title. Like, this is it. If he loses this one, putting like a lot of pressure on. If this were WWE, Cody's winning. Or at least there's something so he doesn't lose. However, because they're trying to, again, make certain statements with these first shows and the way they're building stories, that's more why I'm expecting Cody Rhodes to lose. They've built up emotion really, really well. He feels like an absolutely, like a megastar of a babyface. Like almost impossible not to cheer for. However, because they're purposefully trying to be a bit different from WWE, I expect Cody to lose. Like, that's the kind of story we're not used to seeing with WWE, especially because it's got such an ultimatum. But again, I'm not saying it's bad storytelling, I'm just saying it's different. In WWE, Cody Rhodes would either be winning, or it's a draw, or there's interference or something, so Cody doesn't directly lose, therefore he could challenge again. But because this is AEW, and because they're specifically trying to be different, in their eyes obviously be better, but I'm more judging it on being different. For me, Cody's losing. They've built up this amazing babyface, and now they want to give him an amazingly, I guess, heartbreaking emotional moment, which again, long term should make you cheer for him that a little bit more, get even more behind him. It's like, for me, it's crazy to see how incredibly over a babyface Cody Rhodes is, where like a year and a half ago he was the most hated man in New Japan, like New Japan and Ring of Honor, with his the Bullet Club is fine angle against Kenny Omega. It's like, wow, it's like a year and a half later, and the kind of quote I always keep going back to was like in one of the Being the Elite, where Cody, they were just talking about like the upcoming season 2 of Being the Elite, and Cody was just asking like, could I be a bit more likable this time? And then of course you see where he's at now. It's like, yeah, they did it. They turned him from the most hated man to the most loved man. It's like, oh, well, it kind of feeds into the undesirable to ungoddamn deniable. It plays into that as well, like in the kayfabe world as well as in the like wider story of like he's undeniably a top guy now kind of narrative as well. But yeah, that's why there's multiple reasons why I'm expecting this to go certain ways. But I'm going to go with Chris Jericho. He keeps his championship for quite a long time, because that's what I'd want to do, especially if they are like they really are like putting forward that foot of telling much longer stories and giving things time to flesh out. The perfect way to give an example of that is for Chris Jericho to hold that first championship for quite a long time, and for Cody to lose, which means he won't be challenging for that championship for quite a long time. And by that, I would want it to be years, like 2 to 3 minimum. We don't know, like, what could he challenge via a tournament, for example? Now, if he wins that, or whatever random things, or if somebody chooses him as the challenger, would he accept then? I'm not really sure, but it gives options for like different challenges as well. Cody Rhodes can move on, so that's what I'm expecting. Quite, yeah. Again, I'm excited for this one because of how well they built up the story. I'm expecting this to be the full, like, bells and whistles, all sorts of shenanigans going on in it. Maybe a fair bit of interference, maybe a little bit of blood as well. I was going to say a little bit of the bubbly, but no, save that for after, Chris. He did a whole thing after. Put a video on YouTube afterwards of you in the inner circle trawling different bars looking for bubbly. Because I would watch that. I would watch the hell out of that. But yeah, so Cody's not winning. That's my thought. They've introduced Chekhov's gun to build the tension of it being there, not to fire it. Because again, it's a different style of storytelling than the one we are used to. So, to answer the question of why would they introduce it if they're not going to fire it, it's like, well, it's to build up the tension of the fact that it could be fired, rather than just we've introduced it to use it. A different style of storytelling. And it kind of, once we see it play out, it'll maybe make a bit of sense. That's why I don't feel like it's... Because also on the comments, that's the point I was making earlier, on the comments of the video of like Cody making that announcement that he wouldn't challenge, there was still things of, he's only got the championship because he's a member of the Elite. It's like, they've directly addressed this in the story, and it's a type of listening to the fans and putting it in the story that WWE sometimes do, and I like to credit them for it when they do it. I've labelled WWE as quite good at the course correction. Like, their initial story often isn't to my tastes, to put it bluntly, but they course correct really well more often than not. So like Becky Lynch, with Becky Lynch, like the narrative they wanted to tell would over time slowly stop us cheering for her if they kept her as a heel and didn't really budge from that. And every single week she came out saying that you fans suck, like just the generic heel promo kind of thing. That she would have been relatively over because it was a great character, but they listened to the fans and made an adjustment. And what actually became the man was like way beyond anything they probably would have had planned. With this Cody Rhodes thing, listening to the fans and playing off of that, it's like, oh yes, it's fantastic. Like obviously he's listening to the fans, and you see those comments of the only reason he's got this is because he's a member of the Elite. Whilst my immediate reaction is, well, yes, of course, the Elite with this, because I've also seen a few criticisms of. I wish they would build other people. It's like, but this is their very first pay-per-view. They've been on television, 5 weeks? And the Elite are your initial draws. They are the biggest reason that people are going to those buildings. Like, people like Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega. You got Chris Jericho, obviously the other well-known name, but the Elite are like they are the biggest reason AEW exists. It's all Elite Wrestling. It is them. So to not feature your most popular wrestler because their management, like especially with the first pay-per-view where you've not had as much time to build up your stars with lots of investment, so you're really into those characters, you've not had that time, so obviously you pick your most popular wrestlers. So to the kind of criticism of he's only in the main event because he's the Elite, that's exactly why he's in the main event. That's exactly why the Elite are their biggest draws. Why would you not have them in the main event? It's a serious question. Like, if that is your criticism, why would you purposefully not have your biggest draws in the main event? I don't understand it. It's a criticism I don't get. Long term, yes, I agree. It would make sense to build the people around him. But this isn't long term. This is short, and they are kind of going out their way to tell long term stories, which is going to take time for you to get as invested in these other wrestlers. It's working. Like Jon Moxley's become white hot super quick because he's got his WWE fame, which helps with that. Same with Pac, same with Chris Jericho. So those guys are towards the top a lot quicker. But you saw it when they tried it with Hangman Page, didn't quite work. Obviously, the method wasn't exactly the best for that one. Like immediate criticism was, I don't really like the Casino Battle Royals, especially for crowning number one contenders for World Championship matches. Personally, not my thing. But yeah. The Elite are your biggest draws. You've got Kenny Omega, the Elite's biggest draw, versus Jon Moxley, who's the megastar come over from WWE. Like, that match 100% makes sense. It's going on last. Yeah, it's fine. The other World Championship, you've got your other big guy coming from WWE versus the Elite's other biggest draw in terms of like the hierarchy on the ladder. And yeah, that criticism, for me, the answer to the criticism, like, it's exactly what they're saying, just in a completely different tone. It's a bit like deflecting the question back at them, which can sometimes make you sound a bit like a prick. But that's kind of the point I'm making. It's like, yeah, the Elite are the most popular. That is exactly why he's in the main event. Like, there's no other reason. The Elite are popular. Cody Rhodes is one of those guys. So yeah, I don't understand using that as a negative, because that is exactly the reason why. Unless you're, I don't know what you're doing, because obviously I'm not you. I can't think like you. I don't have superpowers like that. All right, so let's move on to the next match with the Lucha Bros versus Private Party versus SoCal Uncensored. I'm going through the championship matches first. The triple threat for the AEW World Tag Team titles. So we had Lucha Bros versus SCU over in the tag team tournament, and that was the final. And so SCU won with a surprise roll up. I wasn't a massive fan with how that final match was presented. It felt like it was their first issue of TV timing, where the main event they weren't able to do the entrances. At least they were able to do the announcements for the tournament. But yeah, in terms of building atmosphere for a tournament final, you really got to have those entrances, because it adds to everything. And AEW have been so good at doing that sort of thing that it made the whole presentation feel rushed, and the match itself was also, or it had that sense of being rushed about it. So I'm really looking forward to those kind of matches being able to flesh out on pay-per-view. But I do. Well, small criticism is it's a bit close after the final, so it feels like a rematch for the Lucha Brothers, just because it's so damn close. When the actual idea is you've given out medals for the tournament, and you've got your gold medal winners with SCU who were wearing them. Same with the Lucha Bros with their silver medals for finishing second. And on Dynamite this week we had the match to decide the bronze medalists, Private Party versus the Dark Order, and Private Party won, meaning that we're getting all three medalists in a triple threat tag team match. That I do like, because again it is taking the type of thing you do see in real life sports with giving the medals for a tournament, like in the World Cup, for example. You get that third place match. It's it's not the ultimate biggest draw, but it is an interesting match to watch. And then there's actually a reason for winning it as well. More reason in AEW than was in the actual World Cup, because they don't get added to a second final or something like that. But it's something I like. It's not been done before. And I enjoyed it. It set up this triple threat match. It made it a different match than just a rematch, so I'm good with that. But records-wise, just realising I've not got Private Party's record, so oh well. Sorry. But the Lucha Brothers record is 4 wins and 2 losses. SCU have got 3 wins and 2 losses. I think that is losses, yeah. Yeah. It's weird. The three numbers sometimes does mean a little bit. So, who am I expecting to win? SCU. They're not, again, AEW building up these long running arcs. This first pay-per-view is just the start, so I'm not expecting any championships to change hand, but I am expecting maybe things to continue to launch, like the tag team tournament for the tag team scene gave us loads of great matches, and we had a high tempo final, but it didn't really start to kick off those long term stories. We got a tournament arc with the Lucha Bros versus SCU. Now, long term, what happens? And I feel like Full Gear it's either going to be the first one in kind of kick-starting something, or it's going to be the final hurrah for the tag team tournament and just have the 3 medalists have an awesome match together. Then on television you can kick-start something. I don't know. I'm going with SCU to win, Private Party to look awesome, in terms of they are in there with 2 veteran teams. Private Party are in there to be elevated rather than to actually win. And the Lucha Bros are in there to steal the show, but not actually win. Because I absolutely love the Lucha Brothers. I think they're amazing. I became massive fans of them after watching Lucha Underground. So I'm well aware of them. I was one of those guys who was held in Pentagon Jr. as a future main event megastar. And it can still happen in AEW. It's obviously just in the tag team tournament world itself. Ray Phoenix, he impresses me more and more, because I've been watching him for 3-4 years now, and still he does things I have never seen before. He's incredible. He's another guy where I always saw Pentagon Jr. as that level above because of his his work as a dark character, or his spooky creepy walk thing, which I do quite like. He's just got Pentagon Jr.'s got this charisma about him. There's something extra. He's got that X factor. Rey Fenix is absolutely fantastic once the bell rings. So he could be your incredible... who was in like Ricky Steamboat or whoever was in the mid card. I can't remember. I can't think. My brain's turning off. But yeah, that guy in the mid card who would absolutely steal the show in terms of in the in ring kind of area. Like he can lock that down with Phoenix. You can maybe elevate him a bit later, but that's what I'd personally do. Is if they do split, now you're building the tag team kind of scene. There's no need to do that anywhere near this time because they're still establishing the rest of the card. Like, there's no need to split Lucha Bros yet. Just use them to help continue elevate the tag teams. But in the future, I can easily see Pentagon Jr. going immediately to the main event and Rey Fenix going to a mid card. Maybe he could be used to establish that new championship. I feel like he'll fit really, really well in that area and become super popular to then jump up. Either way, Lucha Bros aren't winning in this one. Just to bring it back, SCU for me are easily retaining. And this could be match of the night in terms of just pure high energy and just pure enjoyment from start to finish with absolutely no breath, with the best high flying spots as well. Like, this is the match that I'm predicting that for. The ultimate high energy. It might kick off the show just because of how fantastic it would be in that kind of area. I don't know if they want to slowly build the card or if they want to have all the championship matches kind of at the butt end of the show, as it like kind of builds that way too. Because they are echoing New Japan quite a lot, that's what they do. So you have your kind of perfectly fine matches earlier on, which are building things, but they're not championship matches. They all come much later. We'll see. But there's not really much more to say about this, because it's more the actual in-ring product that'll speak than for real any stories or anything I can talk about. But yeah, SCU, they're going to move to 4-2, which will mean they have the same record as Lucha Bros, so I don't know what happens there. I will say that because of the tournament, you haven't really got a proper hierarchy in terms of who challenges next. Maybe it depends on who gets pinned in this match. Maybe the team that doesn't get pinned gets another chance, but wouldn't really want SCU versus Lucha Bros again, even though I'm expecting that pairing to deliver like endlessly over the next year. I wouldn't want to do it immediately next. So I don't know who could challenge next. Like maybe is Luchasaurus going to be back from injury soon? Because maybe he could like jump in. And then you got those to challenge as an awesome babyface challengers, unless they face the Lucha Bros. I don't know. Either way, this tournament has set up initially a really strong high standard for the division. I'm an idiot. There's the Young Bucks and Santana Ortiz. I can't remember what Santana Ortiz, like Pride and Power, something like that. But I'd think of Pride and Prejudice whenever I see that name. So no, Santana and Ortiz or LAX. Just their new name is not crept in. I can call them Pride and Prejudice, but that kind of destroys the actual aura of the building. Kind of funny to call such a like chaos causing team just Pride and Prejudice. Just such clashing visuals. But yeah, tag team scene being built up really well. This is kind of the next step. Have an awesome match on pay-per-view, then move to whatever. Maybe Santana Ortiz versus Young Bucks could be the one that kind of stirs that pot. Yeah, but I'll get to that one later in my stuff about Inner Circle versus Elite. Final championship match of the evening. AEW Women's World Championship match. I don't know why I struggle with that one. Emi Sakura, a.k.a. Not Freddie Mercury, versus Rio. Emi Sakura has a 1-0 singles record. Rio 4-0. Rio has been booked really, really strong. And the thing that's really... surprised me a little bit is how well the bookings work for Rio. Like, she's getting really good reactions every single week now, and I would have thought for some reason in my head I'm like, well, she's a Joshi wrestler, she's quite young, she's quite petite, she might struggle to get over with the AEW crowds, but no, like, they are incredibly behind her. It's like, yeah, because obviously all the Joshi women are fantastic wrestlers. It's just, of course, with WWE's presentation, and that's the kind of world we're used to. For some reason, I thought that these Joshi women might struggle at first and then we'll come to love them. But no, we already love them. Like, Rio's getting amazing reactions already from the thousands that are going to the AEW recordings. So, that is great to see. She's not losing here. So again, the championship is... These first ones are really easy to predict for me. The champions are retaining. Like, end of. I don't really see any other world, any other circumstance kind of coming from this. This is to build up Rio, and not ignoring the story that Emi Sakura trained Rio. So this is master versus student, and assumably it's a moment where the student does beat the Master. This week they had Emi Sakura pin Rio in a tag team match. Not a massive fan of the challenger beats the champion to make you go, oh, well, the challenger can beat the champion. Tune in on Sunday tune in on the pay-per-view to see whether they actually do it in the title match. Most cases that doesn't happen. So it kind of adds an eye of predictability, but because they haven't really built directly Emi Sakura versus Riho, like they have talked about how Sakura has trained Rio in other tag matches, but it never felt like they were building to this match. The only match that I felt like they were definitely building to was Britt Baker versus Bea Priestley. But this is the one that's on pay-per-view because Rio's champion. And in terms of which challenger does Rio have the most history with, well, you've just done Nyla Rose. There isn't really anyone else. So I guess Emi Sakura, she's got a actual history with her before AEW, so why not use that? Well, and also Emi Sakura's a veteran wrestler, so why not use her to put over Rio? So yeah, Joshi wrestlers are really, really good. Obviously, the Freddie Mercury thing seems to be divisive because it's about a tad too out there for Western audiences. It's the type of thing that'll be perfectly fine in Japan, like get over really well in Japan. But in the West, we find it's a bit. The audiences haven't taken to it, essentially. But again, they're leaning into that with her being on the heel side of the teams, and I'm assuming she'll play that role here. But it's more the story of the master versus student, and the student winning. She's winning. Rio's winning. End of. Right, I'm going to take a quick sip of water. Then when I come back, it's time for the 4 matches which are championship matches, just to close out the show. I've already gone 50 minutes. I thought this, given how knackered I was earlier today, I thought I'd be lucky to make it 30. So well done me. Anyway, let's take a quick sip of water, and this will be on the podcast version where I put the adverts. So enjoy those. If you're listening live, yeah, you get to skip them. But instead, you get to hear me sip water because I didn't mute my mic. No, well done. Right, I'll go down in biggest down to pre-show. So Pac versus Hangman, Adam Page. Pac enters this match with a 2 victories, 0 losses, and 1 draw. Adam Page with 3 wins and 2 draws. It's I'm not really sure, really. Because I feel like Pac is building up really steadily to getting a championship match, because that seems his main goal, and he's getting really pissed off whenever he can't really go in that direction or something holds him back. Hangman Adam Page seems to be like he knows he's on the verge of becoming someone who could truly challenge the rest of those other main event stars, but he's not quite there. Like, he's hanging with Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, and Pac, but he's not quite there, and I expect him to lose. That is my immediate thought. Like, yes, he did have a match with Chris Jericho. He didn't win. So that's what I'm expecting with Pac. Like, Pac versus Jericho could be the next championship match. Like, the next thing for AEW to test with their kind of theory of they're not really... Yes, there are, like, heel and face dynamics, but at the end, they can all kind of go against each other. It's not a clear divide of heels and faces, and they're the only matches you do. The next test of that for me, for that kind of new way of booking, or different way of booking, is to have Pac versus Jericho. I feel like that's the next one. So in my head, because that's the way I'm thinking they'll go next, that is why I'm going with Pac to win this one. Hangman Adam Page, I feel like he needs a few losses. Quite a few people are predicting a heel turn for Adam Page. Like, he just struggles, and that mental weight is on him. He's not really hanging out with the elite. They're painting that story on being the elite. He's not really quite right in the frame of mind that he can tell something's wrong. I feel like that could lead to a heel turn, or it could be similar to Kenny Omega, where it's just a mental struggle that he needs to overcome, and over time he will. I don't know which story they're telling. With Kenny Omega, it feels more like it's the mental struggle he will overcome. Hangman Adam Page, there could be a different twist, especially because he's young. They can do the young impressionable mind thing. Maybe, I don't know. Like the mind trick. Look into my eyes. You can look into my eyes. You wonder. But yeah, a little Britain reference in 2019. That's not a show you should... not a show that would ever make it to air nowadays. Extremely offensive to like every kind of person. But yeah, this match, I feel like it might elevate Adam Page in another, like, he gets a pay-per-view match where he looks fantastic. Like, he's been great since they've gone to television. Like, he's really stepped up. Adam Page has been fantastic, even though his character hasn't been winning and still feels like it's struggling to break into that main event place where he seems to be destined for. Pac, I feel like it's that ceiling hitting again. Hangman Adam Page is trying to break into that main event scene. Again, he's destined for it. Pac is already in that scene, and he's proving that Page is not quite ready for it. Just to continue to build up Pac, make him the megastar that he should have been elsewhere. Like, he's not a guy where, for me, he's like, he wasn't even on the main roster, he wasn't even getting a push in WWE. Oh, Page a megastar here. Like, for me, he proved himself in WWE, and the fact he didn't get that next elevation was like kind of unbelievable. Not unbelievable because he could see it happening, but he grabbed the hell out of that brass ring, and then nothing. Like, they had no plans to elevate him or anything. So, yeah. Obviously, we don't know how big of a fit he threw backstage, but we never saw him again after he laid down for Enzo, or after he beat up. And it was during the Enzo stuff. I can't remember when exactly we never saw him again. But yeah, he should have been elevated to Monday Night Raw, like we've seen with Ali and Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy afterwards. Like, Neville should have been the first one because he absolutely nailed his new heel character. He was fantastic. He showed that really he deserved to be tested at that next level, be it US Championship or whatever. Was never given that opportunity. AEW are giving him that opportunity, and he's nailing it. He feels like a main event star, and it's potential that for some reason was never allowed to go past a certain level. Whilst AEW's like, no, like we'll give you an opportunity to see if you can properly do that, and he's grabbed the hell out of it. So yeah, good for Pac. He feels like a main event guy. And again, I was just talking about how it would make sense for me for them to test heel versus heel as the next World Championship match. I mean, why not? Pac has shown awesomeness. So why not go to the next stage? And plus, you've got Pac versus Jon Moxley for pay-per-view saved as well, given the television match ended in that one. So it ended in a time limit draw because TV time ran out. Therefore, it's like, these two are so good that they couldn't beat each other on television. Therefore, you're going to have to tune in on pay-per-view where there's more time to see this match actually be settled. Yeah, but a style of build which is not fantastic, brand new out of nowhere. It's like, no, it's used in the past. It's just not been used for such a long time that it feels fresh. So, the AEW's got a lot of that. A lot of stuff which isn't actually thought up 100% by them, completely original, especially if you go back. But because it's not been used for so long, it feels fresh and new. So, yeah, what's old is new again, I think it's the saying. And Page isn't winning. So, Pac, I feel like I'm going quite a non-elite heavy kind of victory route. But I feel like they are telling that story, that the elite feel the pressure that they have got to perform, that they are the reason that AEW exists. But they are feeling that pressure, and the other forces within AEW are currently getting the better of them during these first few months. That they'll come out eventually, and they'll eventually be on top, but it makes sense, especially with the long-term story. Like, you don't have your hero on top at the beginning of, like, 20 minutes into the film, like 30 minutes in. Like, if he is continuously on top, what are you building to? So, especially as AEW, again, they are talking about how they do want to tell stories over much more in depth over much longer periods of time. To do that, they have to break the heroes down before you build them back up. It's a widely used narrative thing. It's not mental. We just haven't really seen it that much in the like popular wrestling television landscape. Again, it's another one of those things. Just it's not unheard of. We just haven't seen it properly for a while. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking they're doing. They're breaking down their heroes to then lift them back up. Because again, all elite wrestling exists because of the elite. So it makes sense for them to be the main heroes. But first, to build up the villain, you got to break down the hero. So that's what they're doing. And Hangman Adam Page is the one hero who could cross that line, and he could break and switch to the dark side. So, but Pac's winning. So long live the bastard. And down goes monetization. Right, next up, Pride and Prejudice. Santana and Ortiz versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. Santana and Ortiz with a 1-0 tag team record. They beat some jobbers. The Bold Lad, purple shorts, I think it was. Versus the Young Bucks who have a 3-2 tag team record. That is only 2-on-2. I've not included 6-man tag matches or whatever. Because it's the match they're in. I want to say the Inner Circle will continue to get built here, because that's what I'm expecting this to be. It's called Full Gear, which is like a Hangman Page thing. So it's kind of linked to the Elite in that way. It's the Elite's first pay-per-view, like AEW's very first pay-per-view since going to television. So this is quite a big moment. It's just to see how everything goes. I still feel like the Elite themselves are going to continue to be broken down, and they build the Inner Circle. Santana Ortiz, they feel like they need that next win against truly credible opponents that the Young Bucks are in this really heated match. The Young Bucks as well, though, they were beaten by Private Party because, of course, the focus on the Inner Circle, or is a bit like they weren't in the match, and they lost because of it. Whilst here they are, I don't know. It's going to be a heated brawl. It's a completely different situation, but a heated brawl I would think would be Santana and Ortiz's world, and Young Bucks might not win because of it. But the Young Bucks, if any match is going to go to the Elite, I feel like it might be this one. Because in terms of long-term building the world, Young Bucks have kind of been broken down because they got kicked out of the tournament. But this is the one match which won't massively swing momentum, really. Especially if it's a massive brawl, both teams come out looking amazing. Young Bucks could pick up a surprise quick win or something. I don't know. I'm going to go with Santana Ortiz, because they debuted at All Out and they made the insane appearance that shocked everybody. The Inner Circle is properly formed and they're still being built. And Santana Ortiz have only had one tag team match that they won. Of course, with the ones with Chris Jericho, there's also one. But this would be their kind of crowning arrival. Really, that's my best way to describe Full Gear. The way I'm predicting it is it's going to be the Inner Circle's proper arrival. This cements them as a force in AEW. So it means a full streak of losses for the Elite. So again, the Young Bucks lose to Santana Ortiz. I wobbled a bit on that one, because this is the one where, in terms of the momentum of both groups, it's the one which would shift things the least. But still, a full clean sweep of wins for the Inner Circle. That's what I'm going with. And lots of bubbly, and we're going to get awesome video packages and things. Totally worth tuning in to the press conference afterwards, which I won't remember about because I'll be so tired. I'm ready to go on LOP Radio. So, yeah. Right, next up, I don't know where this will fall in the card, actually. I was going to say the opening match where you start with a decent match and you build and build, but they could go with a tag team match, and this could be slightly after. I don't really third. AEW have built a reputation of the third match being something like this, where it's not one where you're absolutely amazingly hyped for, but it'll be solid. It'll be fine. Jojen versus Shawn Spears, who will be accompanied by Tully Blanchard. Both men have a record of 1 win and 2 losses. Jojen kind of trying to prove that he isn't just this hardcore guy. He can go in the ring as well. He is a fantastic professional I can't really say it. He is a fantastic professional wrestler with gorgeous hair. Shawn Spears, I loved MJF's commentary on AEW Dark this week. Just taking the piss at Shawn Spears' mohawk, or just how crap it looks. I thought that was hilarious. If you haven't, what AEW Dark with MJF was priceless. It was absolutely brilliant. And I'm saying that as a Britishman, of which he did take the piss out of. An amazing line. Just saying. I can't remember which wrestler it was. One of the British wrestlers wore a mouth guard. I was like, oh yes, really good that one. Yeah, a really good tactic that. It's no one wants to be seeing those teeth. Putting a mouth guard in, yeah, totally with that. It's that was hilarious. But Shawn Spears he's a weird one. I expect Shawn Spears to win this one. And it's Jojen trying to prove he's a fantastic wrestler. And I feel like his arc is going to be, he does prove it in what he does, but he doesn't win. He doesn't actually get the win at the end of the match, or maybe he does lose to distraction from Tully or something. Because Shawn Spears feels like he could be a guy, I guess, mid to upper card. Not somebody who's ever going to win the World Championship, but he can threaten those wrestlers. He could well and truly beat them, but he's never going to be World Champion. That's the kind of area I could see his character being in, mostly because he's got the guidance from Tully Blanchard. It's that pairing rather than just him. This match could be to build him back up, because since he lost to Cody, it made sense in a way that shook him. And on television, he's not really he's not really felt like he should be in that main event scene against those guys. Like, he feels less than. Like, Cody beat him, which obviously felt like the right result. It just means instead of Shawn Spears' character, he's dropped right down. And they've been slowly kind of building him, but then he's also not been super impressive as well. So this match could either be an effort to truly build up Shawn Spears, or it's the first time you see Joe Janela like really succeed as a professional wrestler that isn't doing hardcore stuff in AEW. I don't know which way they'll go, actually. I said Shawn Spears, but I've booked enough heels to win that maybe this is the babyface win. That for me, the pre-show is I'm very, very strongly going with the babyface win. But I was so certain that Shawn Spears and Tully. But AEW are doing a very strong job. Or the very kind of, they've picked a path for wrestlers and they're kind of sticking with it. Like, Shawn Spears he's got all that. The thing they're painting, he's got all the talent in the world, but it's just not quite coming together, and he's still losing. That could be the story they tell here, or they could tell the story of Joe Janela, that he's trying to prove he's a professional wrestler, more than hardcore. He's just not winning. That could happen here as well. I really don't know. I'll go with my gut. Go with my first one. I'll go with the heel again. It's a very heel-heavy card for me. Yeah, Shawn Spears wins, but Joe Janela proves his worth as a professional wrestler. And it's Shawn Spears who uses the dirty tactics. Joe Janela fought an honourable fight, but Shawn Spears was a dick. That's the end of that. And finally, the pre-show. Britt Baker versus Bea Priestley. For me, this is solidly going to be Britt Baker's win. She is the one women's wrestler which is just like, she's a pencil in for being that next. That's not a saying, is it? A pencil in. She's already there in the brackets. She's next on the ladder to be the challenger for Rio, and they have built it pretty damn well. It's just that she has to deal with Bea Priestley first. Like, Priestley is the reason that Baker did not win that Casino Battle Royal. It's why Nyla Rose went on to face Riho at All Out instead of Britt Baker. Was it? No, it was on television, wasn't it? Completely forgot about that. Because, yeah, the Casino Battle Royal was at All Out. So, yes. A little bit of a brain fart there. But, yeah, Britt Baker, she's going to continue to get built up, and I feel like she's what's the saying? Is it a writing? I don't know why I can't remember the saying. She's definitely going to be either the next challenger or the subsequent one. Like, her time isn't that far away, and Bea Priestley is really the one hurdle she needs to get over first, which is why I'm predicting her to win. Also, I think AEW don't have Bea Priestley for that long. I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought she might be like going back to Japan and Stardom for a longer period, like come November, which it is now, obviously. So in my head, I think that she's doing this match and then going to Stardom for a longer tenure. I think that could be completely wrong. But she served her purpose in a way. Like a mini story, a hurdle for Britt Baker to get over. Britt Baker does that, then she can challenge for the championship. Then you can show her slightly more heelish side because she's so desperate to win. But Rio is like the underdog wrestler that's just pulling out wins. Like, he's putting in amazing performances, and that can maybe piss off Britt Baker, slow heel turn kind of thing. Yeah, but she gets over Bea Priestley purely because she's going to be the next challenger. That's what I'm expecting, I think. I've got less certain with these ones where they aren't championships on the line, because they could do something to swing. Because obviously I don't know where the next part of the story is. I can only use what they've given me, and what they've given me, I can kind of see where arcs might be going. But a pay-per-view can be used as like just that's where you change lanes, move on to that next point. You can change the gear of the car. I just realised my predominantly American audience most of them don't drive stick. I'm assuming I don't really know. Obviously, over in the UK, the standard is to learn with the gears, everything. So we all know that. I get off on another tangent. Absolutely another tangent. But yeah, at a pay-per-view, you can change gears, so you can shift into that something completely different for like after the pay-per-view. You can use it to propel something or to kind of change lanes completely. I don't know, but from what I can tell, they're my predictions. I'll just go through them again, just so I definitely know. So, I've got Jon Moxley to beat Omega in the unsanctioned match, Chris Jericho to beat Cody Rhodes, SoCal Uncensored to retain, Pac to beat Hangman, Santana Ortiz to beat the Young Bucks, Riho to retain Shawn Spears to get a cheeky win over Jojen, and Britt Baker overcome Bea Priestley so that she's got over that hurdle, she can finally challenge for the title and lose. So that's for the next pay-per-view or whenever I do one of these again. So yeah, I've not done a proper preview for quite some time. Like I did a thing where I called worst case scenarios or best worst case scenarios with Ash from the Wrestling Shorts channel, and where we purposely try and book the show as badly as possible. But then WWE entered that era where it was like I couldn't have done things worse, so there's no point in me doing it. So that died a death. But that was the last kind of predictions type of show I did. So this is a return to a world I don't normally dive in. Hence my I don't know, I'll go with that. Right, so you can probably tell my brain is turning off. I'm going to bed. Also, whilst I look at my picture I've made for this show, I can see that I've slightly gone over the bottom of the full gear, so you can see Jon Moxley's neck underneath it a little bit. That's a bit irritating. And as well, the opacity of the lines isn't quite right, so it looks really weird and stuck together like it's line plasters. Most people don't give a crap, but yeah, I'm looking at it going, oh, improvement for next time. I'll take that. The fact I care, I'll take that as a optimistic point. Anyway, alright, I'm going to sign off now and go to bed and figure out how to get this theme to play at the end. Thank you for listening to this whole 1 hour 10 minutes. If you're wondering why we're doing these massive shows on LOP Radio, I say massive, you know what I mean, like long shows on LOP Radio on YouTube. We've got to break, I think, 4,000 hours to get the site monetized. Oh, I can't bloody speak anymore. Good thing I'm ending the show now. We've got to get to 4,000 watched hours on YouTube before we can get monetized. So live shows, like this live show so far has knocked out. It's over 200 hours by itself, as in these live shows are done each Thursday. So that is brilliant. That powers us towards that, which is fantastic to see. So please, if you do want to help us out, just watch them. Just like it doesn't really matter if you like or dislike or whatever. Just engagement. Mostly it's watching and the hours to get out so we can get monetized. The plan is longer term as well. Make higher quality, like actual edited videos rather than just speaking over a picture. And the plan for speaking over a picture to actually get an image, like a moving image for you to actually, connect with and care about, like a face, not just a cartoon face. But we're working on that to hopefully. It takes money and investment and time. I don't know. Time's the difficult one. No idea when I'm going to fit in proper recording sessions and then editing sessions, writing sessions for the YouTube thing. I've given it a wee go, but it's not. Yeah, just to put it lightly. Anyway, time to sign off of this show as I get up my notes for all the crap I've got to plug. Anyway, I am back next Thursday on LOP Radio here on either Spreaker, whatever, all your podcasty places like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever, Googly thing. We're on all of them. Yeah, so all your podcast places. Also, I should be back on YouTube as well, live. I think this time, if not a little bit later, maybe, I'm not entirely sure, because I've got a guest. Next Thursday on LP Radio, I'll be joined by Jeremy Donovan of Keeping It Strong Style Podcast to talk about New Japan Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, as we have just come past Power Struggle and we're gearing towards Wrestle Kingdom. Gear's the only way to come to my head because of AEW, so thanks for that, Cody. Or whoever. Hangman. Thanks for that, Adam, with the full gear stuff. But yeah, so next week I'll be joined by Jeremy Donovan of the Kiss Boys to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling in this quite interesting period where we know the matches but we haven't entirely seen all of the build. So quite exciting going forward. So that'll be next Thursday here on LOP Radio. But please do check out the other LOP Radio shows. Live after AEW we do have Dynamite After Dark with Jaman and Jeff. That went up on YouTube earlier today. By the way, that's me that does all those, so again, it's whenever I've got time. Sports Entertainment is Dead should be going up tomorrow. Fingers crossed. I think I've got the video done. There's a lot going on. I've got like a 5,000 word column to post by Sunday as well. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of Fridays, it's Mav Planner Mazza with the right side of the pond. They're currently doing a series debunking the myth that the new gen isn't that great, going through pay-per-view by pay-per-view, which is highly recommended watching. The reason I've not put it up on YouTube is I feel like the quality is so high that I want to do like a proper video, podcast video thing for it. just because I rate it so highly. So I want to do something special for it. Saturday, we have got AEW Full Gear Aftershock, which will be taking place live after Full Gear, which is definitely me and Jamman, and I think Jeff from Dynamite After Dark and Kingdom of Honor will also be joining us. So a 3-way Full Gear dance. Huzzah. Monday, you got Kingdom of Honor, with Jamman and Jeff talking about like MLW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, whatever. Tuesday's Global Revolution is currently on hiatus, but their back catalogue exists. So does the WCW Legacy Series and WWF Legacy Series. Just search it up on like Blog Talk Radio and Spreaker, it's all there. Wednesdays is Planned Sports Entertainment is Dead on the podcast version, and I'm trying to get it up by Friday on YouTube. And now I can go to bed. Huzzah! Alright. Yeah, so obviously I'll be back on Saturday at a super late time where I won't be able to go to bed for quite a while. But at least when I'm live, I'll be able to stop and take a drink to be two other people. So I've got that going for me. I think I'm going to want to try and stream on YouTube to get those numbers up. And I'm assuming the engagement immediately after a pay-per-view is going to be miles better than just me randomly on a Thursday where people are kind of done with the week now. They're ready just to move on to the next thing. So yeah. Anyway, Full Gear. What are you expecting? Do you think Jon Moxley will destroy Kenny Omega? Do you think Cody Rhodes is going to definitely lose to Jericho? Or have things been introduced just because they are obviously going to use those things? Like, obviously him saying if he loses he'll never challenge again. Does that guarantee his win? Will those judges definitely be used? Who knows? Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll be back next week. With that, I bid you adieu. Adios.
10,